Hi. It's weekly metal review. Yeah, today we got the new Black Sabbath album, 13, which was streaming for free on iTunes today. We found out, so we gave it a listen. Yeah, when's this album supposed to come out?
June 11th.
All right. Yeah, so that's what a week from tomorrow. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's your chance.
Black Sabbath, dude. I know this is like one of the most anticipated metal albums of ever, and just the return of Ozzy era Black Sabbath. I mean, they've been together, they've done tours, and they've done Ozfest and stuff, but they haven't put a new album out, brand new studio album since like fucking what, 1979 or something
like that,
78, something like that. Man, and I was pretty stoked for this album when it came out, and yeah, it is depressing that Bill Ward isn't on this album. So it's like 3/4 of the original Black Sabbath. But it's fucking Black Sabbath. You should just be happy you're getting new Black Sabbath, even if Bill Ward isn't on it. I know I am. I'm sad that he isn't on it. I wish he was on it, but, I'm just happy there's new Black Sabbath out. And I have to say, after listening to Megadeth's Abomination of Music, this is a great fucking album. This is a really strong album. It's a long album. It's like 53 minutes long, and holy shit does it deliver in almost what seems like to be every single possible way. When they released God Is Dead, I was just like, damn, this is sweet, especially the riff at the end, kind of the more bluesy riffs, and there's bluesy type riffs that are just all over the place in this album, in solos, and there's riffs and solos, and then there's more riffs and solos, and then there's more riffs and solos. It's fantastic, and it's kind of like they just took the old Black Sabbath sound from the 70s and just made it sound a little bit more modern, made the guitars sound darker and heavier and more robust. But when Tony Iommi solos, there's still just the bass that's backing it up. There's not another rhythm guitar track or something, which I find to be cool. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of when that happens all the time, on a studio album at least, but just because it's Black Sabbath and they can pull it off so well, and just because Tony Iommi solos are always just so fantastic, and Geezer Butler's just one of the best bassists of all time, they really can pull that off, and I thought that was really neat. Some of the solos on here were just absolutely fucking fantastic, from the slowness to the more, shreddiness in ways, and the bluesiness was just awesome. I'm just so happy to have new Tony Iommi riffs out, it's just awesome because he's just an amazing guitarist. He's still like the god of all riffs in all of heavy metal. If you think of a riff, Tony Iommi has probably written some variation of that fucking riff at one point in time. And speaking of the riffs, I mean, the riffs are fantastic. Not like, if you like the riffs in God Is Dead when that song came out, there's great riffs throughout this whole album. Like they're just littered throughout. Just me and Keith there'd be a riff playing, we'd look at each other and be like, yes! Like, this is amazing. And there's just so many epic moments on this album. And what's the one song? Age of something?
Age of Reason.
Age of Reason. That's my favorite song on this album. Oh my god, just go listen to that song. It's like 7 minutes long, but who gives a fuck, because it's just amazing in every single possible way. That song really had me hooked when we were listening to this record. And Ozzy sounds fantastic for being like 60 something. I mean, he's old, he's worn out. He's been doing so many drugs. Even now he's doing drugs again. And he still sounds great. I mean, yeah, you could probably say maybe there's some studio cleaning up with his voice or something, but he still sounds just like he did in like the 70s and the 80s. I mean, Ozzy has arguably the most iconic voice in all of heavy metal, and this album is really no different. I mean, I was thinking maybe there'd be a little bit of decline in Ozzy when this album came out, just because, I mean, Scream sounded good, but compared, you know, he sounded good on that album, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about solo release, latest one. But I thought his vocals just sounded a little off and weird and not as good as they used to be at times. But on here, I just didn't think that at all. I mean, he sounded really good. He had some great vocal patterns and all that stuff. I mean, it's just, he sounds good for being as old as this. This band sounds fresh. They sound new. They sound like they just completely almost reinvented themselves. They sound like Black Sabbath. I just think the metal world is just so much better when Black Sabbath is putting out new material, and, you know, they're an active band. There's just some bands that you just love when they're around. I know one in particular for me is Killswitch Engage. I just love when Killswitch Engage is touring or putting new music out or something. And Black Sabbath's kind of no different. This is just a great, solid album. I mean, I'm not sure if this will really take Album of the Year on anybody's list. Maybe it will. But if someone put it up there as one of the best albums of the year, I couldn't argue with them. I couldn't deny that, because this is seriously a great album. There's great riffs, fantastic songwriting all around. Geezer Butler is just the bass dude. He's the bass god, and he just sounds fantastic. I mean, the drums are pretty cool, though. I know the Rage Against the Machine drummer did them. I forget his name, but, you know, he did a pretty good job. You know, making the drums fit Black Sabbath, you know, not making them different or not, you know, fucking them up or anything. He did a really good job with them, I feel, so props to him. This is a great album. This really is.
Yeah, Tyler hit a lot of it. This is the album that I wanted from this band. This is everything I expected it to be. Like, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this is true. They even, like, when they were writing this stuff, they went back to how, in the old days, Sabbath wrote stuff, which was, you know, Tony Iommi wrote just about everything. Ozzy come up with the vocal melodies, and then Geezer wrote the lyrics, which was like how they did it, you know, everything back in the day. How, you know, they wrote Paranoid and all those albums. That's how they did it, and I thought that was cool that they kind of did kind of that with this album, because honestly, this was, yeah, like I said, this is an amazing album. And one of the best things that I noticed about this album is that it's, again, it's the old school Sabbath. It's the very blues-oriented heavy metal, because, like, yeah, it's all of metal is based in blues, but, like, you know, there's a little bit of a lack in it, in like in some, you know, if you listen to some bands, but this band, it's like it's all blues. I mean, Black Sabbath can get away with putting things in their music that, like, really no other metal band can get away with it. Like, that's borderline, like, wow, you know, something you would hear in a blues song, but it's awesome. You know, Tony Iommi's the riff master. Nobody can write riffs better than him. You know, he's written every riff that there is to write.
Yet they still feel really original.
Yeah, like
all the time. Every time he writes anything, it just feels so original. I just love how he just uses simple power chords, you know, like in God Is Dead, or he's just like, you know, just awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. And then like even the solo one, like I was not even back in the old school Ozzy days, like a big, you know, huge, you know, Tony Iommi solo fan, but these, I love these. These are very blues-heavy solos, which I love blues solos. That's the main reason why I even listen to blues a little bit, is because the solos are just, you know, epic, and I don't think there's almost such a thing as a bad blues solo. And the same thing with this album. This album's great. Like Tyler said, the drums, you know, it's not Bill Ward, but I mean, the Rage Against the Machine guy, I have his, what's his name? It's on my phone, because I was looking at all this. Where's that? Brad Wilk is the guy's name. He didn't do anything that would be out of place for Black Sabbath. Like, it's very, like, if you didn't know that Bill Ward wasn't on the album, you probably wouldn't notice, because it's those kind of drums, and I like that. You know, the bass, it's Geezer. He does his own thing. Like, a lot of bassists kind of, you know, they just kind of follow what the guitars are doing. But the Geese isn't afraid to go off and do whatever he wants. Like, at the end of God Is Dead, when Tony Iommi's doing like a fast version of the chords, he's just doing the do 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 do. I'm like, yeah, that part's awesome. And then, like, you know, it's not a disappointment. And then the vocals, I love the vocals. I honestly think this is probably some of Ozzy's best recent vocal work, I think. Like, what Tyler said with Scream, yeah, his vocals sounded off. I feel like maybe with that album, his vocals were a little more auto-tuned than they needed to be. Like, I know people are gonna, like, freak out, but most bands do have some form of auto-tune used. But, you know, auto-tune doesn't mean you sound like T-Pain.
We know that from personal experience as well.
That's not what it means. It's just to clean it up a little bit, because to get it perfect. And I feel like there was a little bit less, and because that was also a thing that maybe was a little bit of a downer with some of the older Black Sabbath stuff. That maybe, oh, Ozzy, you know, yeah, he has a great voice, but then it's like, oh, could sound a little bit better, but I mean, it's still good. Like, on like Paranoid, you know, the vocals, you know, they're great, but I mean, you know, there's just fine tuning needed, and then this is kind of that. And so this vocals are great, and I mean, it's lyrically, it's about all the same stuff that Black Sabbath's always written about. It's, you know, Hail Satan and all that good stuff, and, you know, that kind of an album. And then, I mean, even like musically, there was a lot of parts that are like blues Sabbath mixed with, you know, the Dio era Sabbath. Like it gets really melodic at times, like Tyler was talking about. There's a harmony in the song Age of Reason that is, I would say, at least as of right now, it's almost, it reminds me a lot of the harmony at the end of War Pigs. The dar dar dar, like that. It's, yes. That was, as Tyler explained, one of those moments where it was just like, yeah! You know, so this album was just awesome. That's all I can say about it.
You know, I've seen people, you know, talk about what the surprise of the year so far is. You know, some people are saying the return of Killswitch Engage with Jesse Leach is, you know, the return of the year, the surprise of the year. No. Black Sabbath with 13 is the return of the year for me. This is just some really good stuff. This is personal opinion, of course. If you love this album, tell us why you love it. If you don't like this album and you think we're fucking idiots, you know, you can tell us why. Just please don't be rude about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weekly Meta Reviews is not lambgoat.com. I won't let that happen. So, I don't know, do you got anything left?
I mean, I know they're all getting pretty old, but I hope this isn't the last album we ever see from Black Sabbath. I hope. I honestly can't see Black Sabbath existing without Tony Iommi. Like, that's because I think literally everybody else has left Sabbath at one point or another of all the originals. So really, Sabbath can't exist without him. But I mean, I would love to see, you know, Ozzy, the Geese, and Tony Iommi with Bill Ward hopefully in the future making an album. That would be incredible. But I mean, they are getting old, so I mean, I hope they're. I hope that could be a possibility in the future.
I feel like this album really just gets back to the roots of heavy metal, like where it all started. With you can argue it, but you know, I feel that Black Sabbath created heavy metal, or really helped push it, define what it is. And I feel that this album just takes you all the way back to 1970 and just plops you right in there, and it's really, really cool. It's like taking a trip back in a time machine. I don't know. This is a really good album, though.
So I feel like some bands could, like some of our lesser favorite albums throughout the year. You know, your Temper Tempers, your Super Clyde, could really like listen to this album and be like, hey, this is good.
And there's this one song I forgot to mention. It's kind of slower, and it's very just dark, and just, it is creepy as shit. And that's a really good standout track to me. It's somewhere in the middle of the album. I forget the name of it. Keith's gonna find it. But it is a great song. I just wanna throw that out.
It's probably either Loner or Zeitgeist. One of the two.
We don't know really the song titles because iTunes, if you're streaming the album through iTunes, they don't tell you the song title. They just tell you like where you are overall the entire album, which is kind of a disappointment. But whatever, that's why we don't know that. But when you get to that song, that's a great song.
Yeah.
Anything left?
Great album. Can't wait.
Yeah. Go see Black Sabbath on tour. We're gonna try.
I want to see them so bad.
We can die happy, man. What would you give this album?
I'd give it some. I would actually. I'd probably give this album an 8.9 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
this is some good shit. Check out Black Sabbath 13 when it comes out June 11th.
Alright, yeah.